All right, we are live. Welcome everybody to the Ish Show. That's what I'm going with right now. Probably eventually change it. Um, Wanted to talk a little bit of a couple different things today. Not sure. We're just gonna kind of field our way through it and see what happens. So I wanted to start off with yesterday. I celebrated 11 years of sobriety. So yay for that.
Drop
Hold on.
that hand clap. Drop the hand clap.
I'm trying to find it.
Yeah.
And, apparently, I'm too much of a boomer on tech to be able to get. I thought I had it this time. Uh, Man, I don't know. I don't know what the problem is with it, but we'll just keep it going. It's really starting to piss me off because I thought I had it. Originally, I had forgot that the YouTube Premium that you have to have to live stream, for some reason it wasn't on. So I re-enabled it. I figured that was going to be the problem. I don't know what is actually happening now, but whatever. Uh, so, like I said, 11 years, no drugs, no alcohol. That's kind of a big deal. Um, I wanted to say that and also just talk about. So, up on my property, up on the farm, there is a power line, and the power line is typically maintenance by the power company. I just basically got about 2 football fields more land that I can actually do more stuff with. So that's a big deal.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
I posted pictures of the machine. It's a crazy big uh, track hoe. It's massive. It's got this big thing on the front, and it just, dude, there's trees. They're like this, and then there's bushes that are probably I'm not joking, 20 feet tall. You know, bushes that the people put in front of their houses.
Yeah.
Uh, they there used to be houses up there years ago. These are all overgrown, and they just seeded everywhere. So there's fields full of them, and you can't walk through it. Uh, they they just took this machine and ran straight through this shit. Like it's crazy. I was just up there walking around. It's part of the reason why I was running a little bit late. Uh, Man, it's so nuts when you see it because it's so wide open now. I was talking to the guys and I was like, I I had every intention on renting a machine like this to open all this up, but it was going to be about 5 grand to rent it. And I was like, I was just kind of waiting. I've been hacking into it by hand since day one. We cleared where we are now by hand. This ain't easy, right?
Not at all.
Uh, I'm bringing a lot of this up because I am I'm cursed in a way with this pattern recognition. So for years I've been saying that stuff seems like it's going to go sideways and people say you're crazy. It's not. Everything's fine. And I'm like, well, just if you see one thing after another start to build up, you're kind of like, it looks like it's inevitable unless something happens, right? Unless something happens, we're going this way. So I said, I'm going to try to become more self sufficient. I took almost all the money I had uh, and bought, I didn't want to have any debt because you always have to pay a bank note, right? Like that doesn't make any sense to like, how can you be self sufficient if you owe money on something, right? Uh, if you can't get to work, if there's a reason why you can't work, uh, like these are some worst case scenarios. The banking system goes down, you can't make payments to things. You only get about 2 or 3 months of that before the bank comes to take it. Um, I'm trying to explain all of this in part because I've been saying for a long time that it doesn't the future as far as stability doesn't look bright. And your level of how bad it gets is up to you, right? Like that's for me the way I'm seeing it is that if you choose to be in a place where there's a lot of people for one reason or another, whether you have that choice or not, if you have to be there, you're choosing to be there, whatever it is, um, that's where chaos kind of starts. We can see this in the cities all over the place now, like with all the protests, all the things that are happening. Uh, it's like chaos, and they pick and choose who they're going to try and attack. Right? It's not like um, it's not like I'm not involved, so they're not going to burn my house down. I'm not involved, so I'm not going to get stuck in traffic while they're blocking off streets. I'm not involved, so the grocery store that gets burnt down is, like there's just a litany of things. I'm rambling a bit because this all plays into why I started this. I've been saying that these things are possible for years, and everyone calls you crazy. And I'm trying to explain as best I can without trying to be like the scare tactic guy, right? Like I'm not trying to be like, go get self-sufficient or you're gonna fucking die. Like that's not what I'm getting at. What I'm saying is what I can see. What I'm telling you is happening. What I can see is happening. There's off ramps everywhere, right? There's always a chance that it doesn't go completely belly up. Um, but the more this continues, the more likely it is. And I see it as a way of we need to try to insulate ourselves from the chaos. So I'm bringing that up because Drew is in the New York area as well, and he can kind of see stuff on the ground. And there's videos all the time. They just had a video, I think yesterday. There was a bunch of migrants that were selling like knockoff shit that they came and cleaned up the street. Have you heard about that at all?
No, I don't. There's so much that goes on. It's like within a 24-hour period, you hear 50 new things that occur, and sometimes I just try to tune it out for like my own mental health. So no, I haven't heard this particular thing, but I'm interested in
So,
in
as a
hearing what you're saying.
caveat for anybody listening, Drew has COVIDs right now. I keep telling him to stay out of the bathhouses, but he just refuses. He just keeps going back in. uh, I'm joking. I'm joking.
Yeah.
He's not feeling well, so we're just gonna riff for a bit here. But um, the the chaos is starting to get to the close to the point to where
Hypothetical.
it's not going to stay isolated, right? Um, I don't know how else to explain this because people get mad. That's the thing I've run into the most. People get mad. If you say anything that's outside of what somebody else is already doing, if they're in the denial that everything, or they're in the position that everything's going to be fine, everything's going to be fine. You can't tell them that you see chaos coming. They get angry. They know they're not prepared. They know that there's nothing that they can do about it if it happens. They know there's very little that they can do if something happens. And they get angry. I think that's the weirdest thing I've ever come across. When people say, why would you do that? Look, I almost emptied out bank accounts so that I wouldn't have debt. Why would you do that? Well, here's one reason. $10,000 today doesn't buy as much as $10,000 buys in 6 months now. That's how fast prices are fluctuating. And if you think that you're sitting on X amount of money and you try to say, this is for me to retire, that's great. So when you do retire in 50 years, let's just say you were lucky enough to save up $1 million. What are you buying? Because what are the prices of things? Electricity has doubled in most places, right? Like, do you see what I'm saying? So self-sufficiency is key to avoid some of this crap, right? You know what I'm saying? Like, I don't know. This will not ring through to so many, no matter how in depth I explain it. And I just get angry because I'm like, what don't you get? Like, how hard is, you should save your money for what? So it'll be worth less when I get a chance to spend it. Or do I use it to acquire assets now so that I can at least have something and not I got money in my 401k. Guess what the fucking 401k is dependent on? The banking system. If Wall Street takes a shit, so does your 401k. Like it's stuff that you can't that people just can't conceptualize, and they don't want to hear it at all. You know what I do hear though? And let me tell you something. If you know anybody that is even remotely close to doing what I'm doing or doing more of it or have been doing it longer, don't say to them, "Oh, well, when it goes down, I'm coming to your place." No, you're not, motherfucker. No, you're not. You didn't help build any of it, and you told me I was crazy to do it.
Yeah.
Like, and I'm not saying like I'll be turning like if it really did get Mad Max that I'd be turning anybody away. What I'm saying is I constantly hear, well, your farmstead wouldn't save you. Okay, well, your apartment or your house in the suburbs in the city, that's going to help you, right? Like that's not. Are you hearing it? I constantly hear people say that. Well, if the feed store's closed, how are you going to feed the chickens? You have no idea how any of this works. You have no idea. Um, it's to the extent this example is a microcosm, micro macro of what you have to deal with on a regular basis when you say politics is fake and gay, and they're like, "What are you talking about? Where do you want me to start?" Like, you know what I mean? Like you're so entrenched in the idea that a system or a politician is going to help or save you in some way. They're not. They're not. There is no saving you. There's nobody coming to save you. You're on your own. You have an opportunity to do something about it, and you're choosing not to. And I just want to make that clear. This is just like hard lines that I'm trying to make. And I'm saying all this because I want to get people's attention. I want anybody that's watching this to be telling me, shut the fuck up. You don't know what you're talking about. That's never going to happen. I want you to say that because as time goes on, you're going to hear people like me and me in your head telling you to do these things. And then you're going to be like, damn, I should have done that. I should have done that. What's the worst case scenario for me if I don't? I don't have any debt. None. I don't have any debt. I don't owe anybody anything. If everything it doesn't if things even just stay the same, which I don't see how they could, but if everything just stays the same, I'm still way better off than most people, right? How many people are in debt slavery? When you are in debt, you don't have a choice. And every payment you make on something that you're in debt for, you're you're paying interest on your debt, and you're becoming even more enslaved because it motivates you to continue to do whatever they tell you to do. Remember COVID? Take the shot or you can't go to work, right? And why do you have to go to work? Why can't you say no? Because if you say no and you don't go to work, you're not going to have money to keep paying for the things that you owe money on. Is it Drew, does it sound like I'm starting to break the ice a little bit by explaining some of this?
Yeah, I feel like, listen, if you look back in history, and I guess people, the big thing that people like to forget is when you look at like the Great Depression and things of that nature, where everything was all fine and dandy, and then one day they weren't.
Yes.
And people who had immense wealth and had lots of money coming in and had all kinds of fancy things were suddenly thrust into a whole different lifestyle and lost everything. And it's humans are, I feel like it's in our DNA to become complacent and comfortable. And once you become comfortable with something or you become too far removed, like don't forget history is the big thing. Like those who forget history are doomed to repeat it kind of mindset. And this pertains to it in the sense where I'm actively trying to clear any debt I have, which isn't much. Um, but the what I see is, especially in the city, is this whole oh yeah, I don't need to have I'll just I rent, I lease, I pay a bank for letting me use things that I don't own. I'm not going
Yep.
to keep or don't retain value or don't have good resale value. oh,
Yeah.
I'll go food shopping next week. I shop day to day or week to week, or the groceries will be there on the shelf when I go in 2 weeks from now, or that thing I've been putting off, it'll be there for me to get it and obtain it whenever I want. And
Right.
unfortunately, we've had a long period of time where nothing super incredibly drastic like the Great
Yep.
Depression has happened. So it again puts off in most people's minds the realisticness of how close we could potentially be to something like that. Could it not happen for another 20, 30 years or 50 years? Sure. Could
Here's
it
my bet.
happen? Could it happen in 6 months?
Yeah.
Yeah, it
Here's my
really could.
bet. Here's my bet. I told you I'm cursed with this. There's off ramps every day. I'm thinking we got about 4 or 5 years before it's crunch time. And I'm not saying that that means everything is bad. I'm not saying that. I'm saying before people have to start to realize that what they think is always going to be there is not going to be there. And I'm not even at that. So to just explain what I'm trying to get at. I was a city kid. I grew up in the city. The first time I ever ran a chainsaw or used a chainsaw was the day that I bought it. Okay. So it's not like I'm coming from this place where I have all this vast knowledge and I'm applying it to something now, right? Uh, I forced myself into this situation because I seen this coming and I'm learning on the fly. And like we it's not like even if stuff goes sideways, uh that we would be totally insulated, but we wouldn't starve. And that's the best you can do right now, right? Like, like there will be some food. Um, and I hate to make it sound like it's going to go Mad Max. All I'm saying is that if they block the roads and the trucks can't get through, you got 3 days of food in the stores. That's it. That's all you get. So,
I
I mean,
Yeah, go ahead.
go ahead. Go ahead.
Um, Back in I believe it was 2011, 2012. I forget the exact year. I'm dealing with a bad head cold right now. Some a semi fog. Hurricane Sandy that hit New York City. That hurricane caused New York City to be in a position we had not been in my lifetime.
Yeah.
And I'll give you a couple examples. So I had a recording studio that I owned and operated for over a decade right on the outskirts of Coney Island in Brooklyn. Completely wiped out. The whole studio was a fish tank. If you weren't in the studio wearing full scuba gear with an oxygen tank, you were dead. You were drowned. The roads, the ability for the gas stations. Now that part of this is Brooklyn South, Coney Island. We're like right off the coast of the Atlantic Ocean.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and then other boroughs, Staten Island, New York City. We're surrounded by water. So when the hurricane hit, amongst all the chaos, there was a shortage of gas. Where in most neighborhoods where there was a gas station every 2 blocks,
Yep.
within 2 days, every gas station was out of gas.
And you
And
need
one
electricity for pumps.
pumps, and we couldn't get the fuel tanks in. Everything is tankered in. So we have fuel trucks coming from, PA, Jersey, or coming in from, whatever means of supplies are coming in from coastal tanker deliveries or whatever it is. And just to see how the day after the storm, and then 3 days after the storm, 5, 6 days after the storm, how getting certain groceries, certain foods that are imported into the city, basic things, tomatoes, canned soup, fuel, to the point where one gas station in a 4 mile radius, maybe I'm exaggerating, 2, 3 mile radius had gas. The line of cars and trucks and people waiting to get gas, which you were limited 2 gallons per customer, which isn't anything really, unless you got a moped. Um, the tension it caused, where it was near rioting online, where I witnessed myself, broad daylight. This is about 8 days into it, 5 or 6 days into it. People online fighting over gas of who cut who.
Mm-hmm.
I'm talking 1 o'clock in the afternoon, police within eyesight. So it's not like there's not law enforcement somewhere around, and a guy pulling out a gun and pistol whipping the guy in front of him and nearly getting into a shootout with NYPD over 2 gallons of gas. And this is not even 2 weeks, a month, 2 months into it. So
Yeah,
when
it
they
happens quick.
and then ice, because there was a lot of electricity problems, and um, I was online one day with my mother and my aunt. So I'm the only male. I'm with two women now. I'm online. When now we're a week into it. Only one store had an ice machine, and I'm seeing people walk by me, young men, women, and I can hear what they're saying of their frustration, where they're like, "Oh, if this, I'm fucking frustrated. If this doesn't change, I'm gonna fucking start killing people." Like talking to themselves out loud, putting out aggressive, violent energy. Now I'm standing there looking at the person walking by saying it, and it's just me responsible for my own protection and the protection of my loved ones, and just seeing the tensions bubble and rise
Yeah.
over ice,
So
packs of ice,
listen,
bags of ice.
EBT, right? They cut down on the EBT. There's videos all over the place of the EBT Americans saying that they're just going to rob and steal. Like
They're gonna wait for
it
people to
doesn't.
come out of the grocery store and rob them in the parking lot for their groceries.
They're
Yeah,
going to go into the stores and they're going to take whatever they. It doesn't take much, is my point. Like it doesn't have to be a world-ending event, right?
yeah.
It
A
doesn't have to.
nuclear missile doesn't have to hit and destroy half the country for it to be
Yeah, yeah.
chaos.
And
Yeah.
here's one thing. It's funny because I knew about this, and then I just heard Alex Jones talking about it. Um, and I had a conversation with somebody else about this and brought it up. Have you ever heard of the Podesta plan?
No.
So when Trump won, John Podesta, that's Hillary Clinton's chief of, I believe it's chief of
We're
staff.
talking the 2016.
Yes,
Okay.
yes. So uh, this plan was set in place, and it's pretty detailed, and it's out there. Like you can Google it. Um, and they had a plan set in place, and it was to, if Trump won or wouldn't leave or what have you, right? If they can find this avenue, first of all, let me say they have to have people that have to want it for it to happen, right? That's number one. There has to be a group of people that want this. Once they can convince you that you want it, they're going to have the Hegelian dialect, problem, reaction, solution, right? Like there's going to be a problem that's pre-planned, and then there's going to be a reaction which they know is coming, and they're going to present a plan to do, which was ultimately what they wanted to do. But they need you to co-sign, and they need you to be the people on the street to do it, not you, but whoever believes it, right? Point being is that their plan in this was what was it called? The Western Alliance. Remember me telling you this right now, and if we're lucky, we don't need to necessarily hear about it. But they were going to secede from the Union, calling themselves the Western Alliance. They were going to do that, and they were going to galvanize and vulcanize the population that wanted to side with them by using, and think about what you hear in the news from these same people, Democratic Party, immigration and healthcare. What do we see in the headlines right now? What are we seeing in the streets right now? They're vulcanizing the people. If they can get enough people to, like, there's the governor of Illinois is telling the president to come get me. The governor of California is butting heads and saying that they can't deploy the National Guard in their state. Also happening in Illinois, and there's some other places where it's not quite as intense.
Yeah.
There's a vulcanization and there's a division of groups, right? The reason why I bring this up is because it's not conspiracy theory, right? This was game planned out in 2016, and maybe it didn't happen in 2018 or 2019, but it damn sure looks like it's coming, like they're trying to push it right now. So my point is that if you don't think that these things are possible, I'm trying to tell anybody that's listening that not only is it possible, but there's forces that are trying to make it happen. And pretending like it's not going to happen is not going to help you, like at all. It's just not. So I'm saying all this because it's been on me, right? I don't know. I'm still the crazy guy that people think, like, why would you do that? Like, why would you buy your house with cash? Like that's people asked me that question. Why would you buy that land? Why? Like they legitimately say why. Like, um, why wouldn't I? Like, I don't know what's the point. They don't there's we live people's perception of reality are so far apart from like what is possible. There's such a cushion. Like people are so comfortable. Here's a good point. Can you read this? Can you see it on the screen? People have been psyoped into being so soft nowadays,
Yeah.
right? The
Any
bad
bad
news
news
is
is
considered
considered, yeah,
black pilling, right? That's what I get. That's what I'm being told. They would rather ignore it, right?
yeah,
These people are going to be the problem.
yeah.
When the people that ignore it are going to be the problem. No matter how many times you say you're dancing on a set of train tracks and I can see the train coming, they say, no, there ain't. There ain't no train. Like, it's right there. No, there's no train.
I
And
feel, yeah.
go ahead, go ahead.
No, I feel like I see the different sets of people. I think some of it is based on life experience when you're used to, I don't want to say life being easy because that wouldn't be accurate, but you've never been in a crisis, even a small crisis, and you haven't gotten a taste of how quickly and how bad things can go off the rails, and you just contributed all this fiction, like, oh yeah, that's in the movies. Oh yeah, those old, World War II era movies, and the world could never go back to a situation like that, and we're too well insulated and we're too developed, and all these well-wishing theories. I feel like it's a safety blanket because it's easier for people to accept a comfortable lie than the uncomfortable truth. And some of us have, maybe it's just the way our brains are developed or whatever it is, but we've been somehow exposed in our mental cortex to see things in a more realistic way where, yeah, everything's great today. I could leave right now and walk to the store and buy any number of 10 million flavor bags of potato chips.
Well,
And
here's the perspective, Drew. What the reality and the situation that we live in right now is an anomaly. The perceived safety, the comfort, right?
yeah,
It's an anomaly because throughout the history of the world, it's never been this way, and it's extremely fragile. Um, the fact that people follow laws is just because there's a there's a perceived just so like they want to throw ice out. They want to throw ice out of the cities. There's a perceived coalescence where like people are like, if we want things to be good, then we just do these things and everything will be good. What this is the point I'm trying to make is that that's a fallacy. Those people, you need to have a cohesive group of people to achieve that, and it's not happening. It's starting to crumble. People are ignoring laws, kicking in doors, trying to take things from people way more now than they actually had in the past. And they're blaming everybody and the system. They want to see the system go down. That's There's a goal here, and it's not the goal for the people that are pushing this shit, and they're pushing it. You can see it every day on the news. Um, there's narratives that people are believing because of the medium that they get it from. So if the TV said you weren't safe to certain people, they wouldn't feel safe, right? If the TV said, and I'm using TV as an example, but it could be anything, whatever screen you're staring at, right? For boomers, it's TV. Whatever comes through the TV is whatever the world is. That's why they do the crazy shit that they do. You know what I mean? They got to pull them out of nursing homes and line them up and give them signs because the news told them something bad was happening. They don't really actually know what's going on. The TV said.
they've been spoon fed their entire life that that is the source of accurate information, and they're indoctrinated. There's no changing their perspective at that point. But yeah,
It's insanity. It's
listen,
insanity.
if you see what's going on now, if I have a couple of friends on Facebook that I follow that are Canadians, they live here in the States. They came to for career, job, whatever. They're citizens of the United States, but they were born and raised Ontario or whatever parts of Canada. And I've watched the Prime Minister of Canada or whatever, whoever runs the police and the government about people, illegal migrants over there breaking into people's houses, and the suggested response where my Canadian friends are outraged. They're like, "Are you fucking kidding me with these responses?" So if an illegal alien or a criminal, illegal alien or not, breaks into your home, comply. Leave the house. Let them pillage your personal belongings, rob your kids' toys, go in your drawer, take all your stuff, call us. They'll deal with it, and then they arrest them. Write it down on paper and release them back into the street. Where I can't even fathom that this is happening anywhere in the world. That there's even crazier things happening in Britain. But just to think that that is the mentality of what a lot of people voted in over there.
Yeah, that's
Um, it,
questionable, but yeah.
yeah. But in the general view, it was what was voted in, and to think that their government, their ruling body, promotes that sickens me and makes me say, okay, if the liberal agenda here were to have their way, and we could get into the whole two sides of the same coin, it's all a show or whatever way we could go down that road. Um, they know the American people are not ready to hear that kind of thing. We will not stand for that. But to think they're slowly in these other nations pushing these narratives, I can't imagine our representative getting on TV and telling our nation to comply with people in your home, no matter what state you live in. That's a ridiculous fallacy. Even in New York, where you have no stand your ground rights, no stand
Yeah.
your ground laws, you have a duty to retreat. So, for instance, for people who don't know, in New York, assuming you jump through all the circus hoops of fire and you go do all these unridiculous, unjust, unconstitutional things to even obtain the right for self-defense, if somebody's breaking into your car in your driveway or in your garage in your backyard or on your back porch presenting a threat, if you don't do your ability to leave your house or go hide in the corner and hope and pray they don't get in, if you do anything to confront the situation on property you own, you're in the wrong. And even if you're morally right, you'll be arrested and charged with the crime. So just to show you the mentality, even here being told something like that, what Canadians were recently told about people breaking in their homes, would not be generally accepted and would be there'd be a big whiplash effect of even people living in places like this who were far detached from living in what I call America or the free states, and how you have a right to freedom and property and safety, and you're responsible for yourself. Here you have to wait for the police to come and handle the problem. They're rarely on time in the moment. It's more of them coming after the fact to clean up the mess. And even in that mindset, it's crazy to see how far some of these other nations are pushing that narrative. And I don't know if it's being generally accepted by the population. I know there's some resistance, of course, but just even to get away with saying that on TV and not have a million protesters outside the Capitol, protesting the person who said it is amazing to think if it could happen somewhere like there, who's to say it can't happen here in 10 years or 20 years or 5 years?
Well,
It's just,
listen, here's what I mean. What you're saying in my perspective isn't wrong, but as ridiculous as it sounds, everything you just said, just let them take stuff. Do you know what is equally as ridiculous? Take this vaccine we made 5 minutes ago, and it's safe and effective for everybody in the world.
for a virus that was patented
And
five,
also
eight
also
years
wear
ago.
also wear a dust mask that doesn't do anything, and stand 6 feet apart. All of that was made up. All of it was arbitrary. All of it was a lie. But look how many people bought it. Not only did they buy it, they tried to enforce it from person to person. Like, so, you had your fellow citizens being like, you're a terrible person if you don't do X, Y, and Z,
If
right?
you don't stay in
Like
your
that's
house, you're a threat to the community. And how
that's
dare
how
you?
this happens. The
Yeah.
medium that the information comes through is probably the most relevant fact of the whole thing. Because people wholeheartedly already want to believe or believe something simply because they thought it was truthful before. Like I said, it depends. The mouthpieces on the internet are the ones that it's amazing. The screen and the person on the other side of the screen. That is the most fascinating aspect, because no matter how ridiculous it is about something that they say, no matter how stupid it is, right? Safe and effective was the craziest thing I ever heard. I thought I was losing my mind. Everybody around me was like, "What's wrong with you?" And I'm like, "What? Like
What the
what?
fuck is
What?"
wrong with you?
And I was, dude, I was losing. I thought I was in a Twilight Zone. Like, and I never even watched the Twilight Zone. I just know that that's like, a relevant thing. Like, you don't know where what it came from. Bat soup. That's what they told everybody. It fucking came from bat soup. That's what they said. It came from bat soup. It traveled all over the world. It's going to kill 90, they said 80 to 90% of the people. That's what they said. It came from bat soup. It's traveling all around the world. It's going to kill 80 to 90% of the people. And by the way, we just made this vaccine 5 minutes ago, and it's perfectly safe for everybody. Tylenol obviously isn't safe for everybody, right? Everybody can't take the same medication in the world. It doesn't matter how over the counter it is. Everybody can't take it. So like you you can't say that and it be true. But because of the medium that it came from, no matter how ridiculous it is, they believed it. They believed it wholeheartedly. So regardless of how stupid it all is, regardless of how nonsensical it all is, depending on where it comes from, they'll believe it. That's just a plain and simple fact, and it sucks. But I mean, that's just the truth. You have, if we don't, if everybody doesn't let the robbers rob them, whatever ridiculous thing they can think of, as long as it's coming through whatever TV they believe or whatever screen that they believe, that there will be people in the streets saying it. Like that's the craziest part. It's a mind fuck, man. Like
Yeah.
that's what I'm trying to say. You're dealing with people, they're basic like NPCs is a real term, which is fascinating to me. There's people that don't, they just basically respond to stimuli. Like they don't really have, like in my head when I'm trying to think through a problem or think about something, it's like you can kind of have a conversation in your own head. Maybe I should try this. Well, if I try that, maybe that, because I've tried that thing before, really didn't. They don't do that. They don't do that. There are actually people they're incapable of doing that. And if you tell them that you do and you run into one of these people, they think you're crazy. You mean you hear voices in your head? This is what I'm talking about. So this is what I'm trying to say is that there are people and situations in the world, no matter how retarded it sounds, no matter how stupid it sounds, no matter how obviously it's a lie, no matter how bad it's a lie, depending on the medium that it comes from, people will believe it.
Yeah, they take it as gospel from a TV box in their room with paid actors, as I like to refer to some of it. Obviously, some we this is going back even before World War II with the propaganda machine. I'm thinking even back in Roman Empire days, Genghis Khan time. The rulers knew that okay, there's two types of people. There are those who are critical thinkers and are not going to swallow whatever they're told. They're going to want to vet it for themselves. And then they're the, I don't want to say simple minded, but the people who are less able of critical thinking, who will be more open and susceptible. Well, oh well, if I keep hearing the same thing repeated, and you keep battering it into somebody's head, and they're seeing it when they turn to the left, and they're seeing it when they turn to the right. That's all they need. It's just a repetitive, what do they call it? Culling the herd kind
Yeah.
of thing. And then some people are not. There's a part of the population who will raise the question to say, I kind of hear what they're saying, but there's holes in that story, or I don't. It doesn't really seem to be accurate. Let me kind of go the extra mile to make my own decision, not from one source or two sources, which today would be this channel of news or that
Yeah.
channel of
What do you
news.
mean you're doing your own research? What do you trust the science?
Yeah.
Right?
who's
Yeah.
who's science?
Yeah.
Dr.
So here,
Fauci science?
just it's another example of the madness, but the population, you mentioned population. There's going to be a huge population collapse. Why is there going to be a huge population collapse? You might ask. Nobody's having kids. Nobody's having kids. Why is nobody having kids? Because they were told there's too many people through a screen. There was too many people. You're never going to have enough money. Everything's too expensive. All of these messages came through a screen. So there's going to be a huge population collapse because people are not having kids. And I'll give you a quick example. And like this part infuriates me when I think about it. But my dad's side of the family, the one that carries the name Stack, they had three. He had three brothers, himself and two brothers, and four sisters. I am the only male out of all three of them that they didn't have any kids. I was an accident. I was playing they were 18 and 19 years old. I was an accident. If it wasn't for me having kids and realizing these bullshit messages that people were trying to say, my name and my bloodline would die with me. That message was put through a screen. You know what they're not going to tell you? To become self-sufficient. They're not going to tell you that like your food is fucking poison. It's packaged and it never goes bad because it's full of poison.
And it's banned from a lot in a lot of other nations who won't even
Yeah.
accept our food during times of crisis.
Yeah. All the cancer and all the other shit, like, Hodgkin's lymphoma, like that's one that really exploded. There's like cancers. And, that's the other thing, cancer with the shots, dude. Like, I mean, that skyrocketed. I said turbo cancer to a doctor, a surgeon one time. Of course, he was vaccinated. He thought I was crazy.
He looked at you like this.
Yeah. Yeah. What do you mean turbo cancer? I said, well, you haven't seen an influx of cancer at all? You haven't seen that? You know what I mean? But they're just as susceptible. You know what I mean? They're taught and trained. Just because you can recite from a book and do it well and apply that to a thing, that doesn't show intelligence. It doesn't. If you can't critically think, it doesn't show intelligence. I don't care how good you are at open heart surgery. Actually, that's a really great skill. That doesn't mean you're intelligent. It means you were taught a thing that you know how to do. That's what that means. That nothing else. And
Yeah.
so when you try to explain things to these people that didn't come through a medical book, and they didn't come through a real quick example as far as the medical thing. I want to try and touch on a couple of things and try to keep this short because I want to make sure that there's examples of this for people because I want to try to end with like there's a solution. When my daughter had her heart surgery, when you go into a hospital, you're diagnosed with this condition and they want you to do this stuff. Every single person. Doesn't matter if it applies or not. You have to go through the whole thing. And if you say to them, I don't think we should do this one, they want to go as far as try to imply that you're a reckless person and you should probably have your child taken from you. They wanted to give my daughter a feeding tube, and she hadn't had the opportunity to try to eat yet. So I said to them, this is after the surgeries are done. This is after they took her off the medications. Now, the tube before that is very rational, right? Like you just want to make sure she's getting sustenance, right? But we're getting to the point where we're trying to separate from this, right? She's on very little medication. The medication she was on was, taking away her appetite, right? And she's becoming more active, right? When the reason why you learn how to talk and use your tongue is when you're little. You learn that from eating. You use your esophagus because you've eaten. You use your esophagus, your throat, your tongue. That's how you talk because you're using it, right? You're eating, you're saying things, right?
Muscles are developing. Yeah.
Okay. So I'm looking at this doctor, and this is well past the point where, this tube could technically come out. And I'm looking at him and I'm like, well, when do we take the tube out? Like I want her to eat. Oh, well, we were going to take that one out and give her a more permanent one. All the kids with these conditions have a permanent feeding tube. And I said, did you try to feed her? No. Then why would we force feed her? Like, let's see if she can eat first and let nature take its course. Well, if she doesn't, and this is just logic. If she doesn't get enough to eat, it could be a problem. If she's hungry and then you put food in front of her, let's see if nature takes its course, right? Like
before you go to the default extreme.
Yeah. We're removing the medications that are taking away our appetite. there's an opportunity to let her become self-sufficient herself without a feeding tube, right? But we have to do that now, because if you stick a more permanent feeding tube in and she's constantly eating from a bag, it's going to affect more things, right?
Yeah.
The caloric intake is going to be different. She's never going to be anywhere near normal. It's going to be a bag of mush that she eats from for God knows how long, right? And she's never really going to be able to exercise her throat and lungs. They almost threw me out of the hospital at one point because they kept saying that they would do it and they didn't do it. Point being, here's the end result. I told them, take the fucking tube out, let her get hungry, and feed her. And we had to stay there to make sure that this happened, because the nurses were saying that the doctors weren't giving the orders to do it. The outcome of this is that she is doing way better than any of the, and I mean way better, excelling. These people can't believe it when she goes in for these checkups, excelling at a level that they always are astounded at. And I'm not making that up. You go in for a checkup, she doesn't even have to go in for checkups all that much. It's not a big deal, right? But when you go in for a checkup, they can't believe what they're seeing. And I'm telling them, why do you think that is? There are things that you're doing that you apply to everybody because the textbook told you to, right? You did, the textbook said somebody comes in with this condition, you do this litany of things, and you can't deviate from it, right? Now, if I'm not standing there and saying that, then they do that. If I'm not sitting here and saying to people, listen to me, find a way to insulate yourself in some way, because I can see that things are starting to really go sideways. And it doesn't mean anything other than understand that just because you're not seeing it through the TV, that it's not happening. It's the same thing with the textbook, right? Like, just because the textbook said you need to do this, they can't deviate from it. So like it plays into each other in that way. And what I'm trying to get to is that solutions. Like, I don't know what on an individual basis people can do for themselves at this point. I think you could probably start with acknowledging that people that have been saying this aren't crazy, right? Like, people that have been saying this don't look good, maybe they're not crazy. Maybe the people that said, hey, this vaccine and wearing masks don't make no sense, they're not crazy.
Well, we're at a point in history for the first time where, over the last 6 to 12 months, where a lot of the conspiracy theorists and conspiracy theorist people were actually right, and it's being more acknowledged than it's ever been acknowledged before. So you could imagine, without the pushback and the resistance of that, the truth within it. I was somebody, and I get praise now. So when 2020 happened, as soon as they started talking about, we were getting into the COVID and we don't know what we're going to do. And then all of a sudden there was this miracle vaccine they were coming out with. As soon as I was standing there, I had family in the room. And as soon as I heard them talking about it, and I was standing there, I started shaking my head. I already knew where it was coming from, why. I already saw through it. I was pretty much, again, living in New York with my friend circle, though I do have a few like minded friends who are very much on the same page. But it was like a resistance, even in that, where I knew and was telling people, nope, I'm not getting it. You can give it to me when I die, dig up my coffin. You can give it to me then. Threatening me, firing my job. Fortunately, I didn't have like a lot of friends I had who had, a wife and multiple kids, and the pressure for them to concede and getting a shot at losing their livelihood, and seeing the pressure that a lot of people were under. A lot of people caved to, and a lot didn't. And I got a hard time from a lot of friends and family members. Just in the, you got to get the shot and this, that, and the third. And I was like, nope, nope. And here we are, 5+ years later. And I have some of those same friends and family members saying, I admire you for standing your ground and standing with your beliefs and not getting it. They regret getting it. They're seeing all the neurological damages and spike protein issues, cardiovascular issues, turbo cancers, and they're starting to see these things surface more because media is being less suppressive than it was in the last administration. So you're kind of seeing people in the independent cases of victims coming forward and telling their stories, and I can, I'm able to, be looked at by some of my friends and my family members who are proud of me, who wish they would have been a little bit maybe more in my way of thinking. I've had people, I've had COVID 2 times. I got it in 2020. I got it in 2022. The first time was very bad, kicked my ass. The second time wasn't as bad. And I know several people who got every COVID vaccine, all the boosters. They work for the Board of Ed. They jumped through all these hoops to get every and anything they were told to get, and got COVID more times than I did in a greater time, in a shorter time period, and had severe reactions. So it's like, all right, I didn't get any of the vaccine. You did everything, and you're doing no better or worse than somebody who didn't. It was like, you cannot see now like that still. And then now finally 5 years into it, they're like, yeah, I'm not getting any more boosters or any vaccines. And I'm like, oh, well, it took you that long. And I don't want to like shit on anybody. Fear is a strong thing. A lot of people let fear grab hold of them, and maybe it's because of the way their brain is wired, or they haven't been in situations where they've been under pressure to say, oh, this is a familiar feeling. I've been under pressure like this, where I was threatened with, how am I going to feed myself, or criminal charges being brought against somebody, or, to stand your ground is to have courage in the face of fear. And it's not easy for everybody. And yeah,
There,
that was a big lesson.
365 times it says in the Bible to not be afraid. Start there and then work out from that. Obviously, you have to be smart out to let me just say this real quick. So you want to hear one more crazy logical fallacy that I hear from the same group of people that would say that I'm crazy for saying, well, just about anything at all, really. But as far as COVID, well, the vaccine saved lives. How many times I've heard that?
Well,
That is,
they have to validate them believing and taking in it, because then their reality shatters. So they have to.
it's completely improvable. You can't prove a negative. You can't say that if you're smart. You can't say that if you're smart because there's no way to prove it. You have no proof. You're repeating what the screen said. The screen said that and you repeated it like a puppet. There's no way to prove that a vaccine saved anything. There's actually a tremendous amount of proof to prove that the vaccine killed a lot of people. And more than that, the treatments, when they put them on remdesivir and the ventilators, that iced a ton of people. And then they said it was COVID. Like, I don't know what else to say. But like, just look, use your head, turn off the TV, and like pay attention. I just don't know how else to explain this, man. And like I said, they'll be the same people that I will sit here and say, the food is poison. Be very careful what you eat and grow as much of it as you can yourself. It's beneficial in more ways than you can ever even imagine because, like, just learning how things grow, just learning how to make things grow because it's not a one size fit all. I wanted an orchard field of apples. Guess what? The apples don't like the ground all that much, but peaches do. So peaches it is, right? There's just so much that there is to learn about it. It's crazy to think that just because it's hard, people don't want to do it. But that's the world that we live in. It's hard. I'm not. I
Because
don't
they
want
could
to.
just go to the store and pay for a bushel of apples that were shipped
Covered
in
in
from somewhere.
poison.
Yeah, covered in
Covered
poison.
in fucking poison. Why are they in the bundle? Use your head. Why are they in that bag and they're not bad? Why? Why are they in that bag and not bad? Where did they come from? How long they've been in the bag? What do you think is causing them to not go bad? Like what? Why didn't the bugs eat them? Why aren't bugs eating them now? Can you take, I don't know, let's just say a McDonald's burger and put it outside? How much of that shit do you eat? The bugs won't eat it. I don't even think it can grow mold. Like
They've done tests with certain of those meats and burgers where they left them out a year, 10
but
months.
people line up. They line up. There's a McDonald's not far from here. You'd think they were giving it away. They're fucking lined up around the block. Like there's a whole circle, and I'm just sitting there, and they're all overweight, and they're all like, I'm just like, I
Yeah.
don't know what to say. Like, I mean,
Listen, I had a friend who used to tell me, because I haven't had McDonald's or any fast food in like 12, 15 years. Other than like a random road trip where I was desperate and just had like a small French fry because there was nothing else around for 10 miles. But I had a friend tell me, I seen him in front of McDonald's one day, and he's like, I only go here for the salad, or I only go here for this particular drink.
yeah.
And I'm like, but you still have to understand, as where their distributor and even as a salad, where it comes from. When you go to places like that, it's like going to a hooker for a hug. It's really not really the best place to get it. Like, you should
Yeah.
still maybe mitigate the convenience, go to a Whole Food store and like really try to find the best quality you could get, even though you're just looking at it like a salad, a quick
So
salad.
they douse vegetables and fruit and wheat and just about anything that grows in Roundup, like the commercial level Roundup.
The pesticide.
I'm trying. There's a name for it. I'm trying to. I don't have. It's on the tip of my tongue. But either way, it's basically just Roundup. Now, what that shit does is it's genetically modified. Um, when they take the Roundup, they just douse it. They spray everything, and then the entire place is dead. You can't walk through that without getting cancer at some point.
You have
But
to
there's
add
not
that
even microbes in the soil. Like, that's just so we're clear. Everything is dead. Nothing can grow around it. Everything is dead. Everything. No microbes in the soil, no bugs, no ants, no worms. There's no other fruits growing. There's weeds can't grow. And when you pay attention to when they spray it, do you ever know how crazy that looks? Like, they start
they're wearing
turning
a
yellow
hazmat
and
suit
orange. The reason
with the
for that is
ventilator and the
because
respirator.
it's
Yeah.
killing it on a cellular level. It's not just killing it, it's killing it on a cellular level. That's why plants that aren't genetically modified, which is another whole, like, the only reason the other ones grow is because genetically modified. Okay. It's also a forever chemical. It never goes away. So you're spraying and dousing the fields with poison that never goes away. And it's also genetically modified, which we don't know the ramifications of that. But genetically modified, soaked in poison food is going out on the shelves. And then you're eating it and you don't feel good. Why don't you feel good? Where's all this cancer always coming from? You know what's funny about that is that they're creating a market because the same companies that own Roundup also own pharmaceuticals. So, problem, reaction, solution, like we talked about before. They douse it in fucking poison so that it can grow. And farmers just do it. These moron farmers just do it because whether or not it grows, they get paid by the government, believe it or not. They use this, do this, you get paid, right? Uh, if they don't, there's all kinds of other problems. That's why doing things yourself is the best way to go forward. But the point is that it's genetically modified food to survive in poison. That's also doused in poison. And then those people that are doing that own the pharmaceuticals for the drugs that when you inevitably get sick, they sell the drugs that you're going to need for the treatment.
For the rest of your life.
None of this is by accident. None of it. Like,
Yeah.
I just don't. This is out there in the world, but it's not coming through the screens that people are watching that they think is the truth. And somebody will watch this and they'll go, "Oh, he's crazy." Like, that's the craziest part. They'll go, "Oh, he's fucking crazy," right? They, you have plastic in your balls right now. Did you know that?
Yeah. From
Everybody does.
polyester underwear.
Everybody
Nowadays.
has it. Everything is there's so much there's microbes, microscopic plastic in all of us because everything we drink and eat out of is plastic, and it breaks down in the food and in the drinks, and then we take it in, so it becomes part of us.
The microplastics. Yeah.
None of this is natural, and I'm just here to say that, like, what I'm trying to get at is that goy slop. Yes, you ever heard that term before, Drew? Goy
Say
slop.
what?
Goy slop.
Goy slop. No.
Yes, guys, listen. Drew is somewhat of a normie. He doesn't know this stuff, but I'm gonna try to. We're gonna try to edge them along and teach them. YouTube is not the place really to explain what a goy is, um, because I'm just starting this channel. If I can ever fricking get Rumble to work, we'll jump from YouTube, go to Rumble, and explain things in detail. But we'll slowly get there with Drew as well, as long as he sticks around. But the point is that uh, none of this should be a surprise. But I want to get to like solutions, right? Like solutions is hard work. Hate to break it to you. There's no easy solution. Um, you have to do it yourself. Have to on some level. I'm not immune from it. Like we still have to go to the store for stuff, right? Like it's not like that. Like it's not like that we're so totally self-sufficient, but I'm working to that, right? Like I'm working towards removing myself from it. It's not like I'm sitting on millions of dollars, because if I was, we would be. We'd be much more insulated. But given time, so I'm trying to say, I'm thinking we got a good 4 or 5 years before it's an actual where we're going to get our food thing. If hopefully it takes an off ramp. I don't know, but the point is that you have to do it yourself. You have to do it yourself. You have to be responsible for yourself. You can't look to the government for answers. You can't even look to the government for like safety or security. That's another false pretense that like the government's going to protect you. Let me elaborate on that. The police show up after something happens. They're not outside your door to stop something from happening. You have to protect yourself. You have to start trying to grow your own food. Whatever level you can do that is good. Doesn't matter if you put it in buckets on the porch. Like if all you're doing is starting with tomatoes, it's a start, right? Like you have to start somewhere. And from there you can always expand and grow and do more. But like stop calling people crazy that present information like this, because we're the ones that are not vaccinated. We're the ones that are growing our own food. We're the ones that are screaming from the rooftops, please do this because you're my liability. If it does or goes sideways, you're going to want me to supplement you, and I'm not doing it. I'm coming to your house when shit hits the fan. No, the fuck you ain't.
Yeah, no. If you don't contribute, you don't get to participate. At least for the most part.
What it ultimately comes down to is spreading information and getting a cohesive mindset that we can all slowly start to get on the same page. And if somebody, sharecroppers were a thing because people didn't have land, but they wanted to help. Like if somebody wanted to help, I'm all down. I'm down. Like, I mean, come help. If you could be a part of it, we can split things. You know how many people will volunteer for that? Zero. None.
Well, you got one over here, but yeah.
Well, if you were close enough, you'd already be a part of it. I'm saying this in a way as sort of like a tough love thing. You know what I mean? We're coming up just past an hour, and I know you're not feeling good with your COVID, so stay out of the fucking bathhouses. It's bad. Break that habit, dude. But I think solutions is the thing we need to start focusing on. I wanted to just address this because we didn't have a real good topic, but I kept seeing civil war popping up. Civil war, civil war, civil war. You remember when I told you about what you see on the screens?
Yeah.
They want a civil war. They want people to fight each other. They want this. There are people that are pulling the strings that are technically, however you want to put it, the bad guys. And they would like nothing more than for everyone to start going at each other's throats. That's the goal right now, like that they're working towards. They want to divide people. And then when it falls apart, they can try and build on the ashes. And that's actually biblical.
Yeah.
So how about start growing some food? Like, but let's start with that.
That and developing the mindset. And you and me have talked about this off screen many a times. Being self-sufficient with food, being able to defend yourself and your family, being maybe sufficient in giving emergency medical care as well. Things that when you pick up the phone, assuming the phones aren't down, or there's not such chaos where there isn't enough service members, whether they're EMTs or police or whatever it is, firemen, that you are able to at least sustain in most situations. And I
Let
think
me
those
add
are
this before I forget. You're absolutely right. You brought up the medical thing, and it's a really good point. So you and I talked about this, and I plan on doing it. I got financially, I got some stuff I got to take care of that you're aware of. But as soon as I get this out of the way, there's a place called Refuge Medical. If no one's ever heard of it, you guys should check it out. They are the best, but in my opinion, the best. They're 100% made in the USA. They're in, I want to say Missouri, uh, middle of the country. I wish I should bring up the stuff, but
we'll
they
circle
make
back. We'll do a segment on
yeah,
training.
they make their own first aid kits. It's all 100% USA, um, and they also have training classes. So you can take some classes online, which if you buy a kit, once you buy a kit, like after a certain, I think it's $100 or more, uh, they have an online course that you can take that's like a few hours. They send you a link. It's a really good way to get started. And then they also have in-person classes that get, some of them can get pretty intense, which is pretty cool. Um, First responder classes, all these things. I'm still working towards that goal myself, but that's 100% a good point is to, I mean, look at, I just spoke on the medical facilities, right? Like, they were talking about they wouldn't let you get in if you didn't take it. If you didn't take the shot, they weren't going to let you in the hospital, right? Where does that leave you if you can't treat a basic wound? So, medical is a great point. Like, and if you're trying to find a place that is legitimate, they're God fearing people, refugemedical.com. Check it out. I mean, I doubt that any of them actually know me, but I've been in contact with them before. They also do uh, relief. They do, like, if there's a hurricane or a tornado, they run. They run there. I'm on their email list when they're asking for help. If anything ever happens close enough to where I can help, I'm going to help. There's a disaster of some kind, they mount up and they go. They got machines. They bust out. Like, so it's really fucking cool, and it's a good company to back if you're going to actually try to do that. Stay away from Amazon for anything important. That those medical tourniquets and all that stuff from Amazon, not the best idea if somebody's life's on the line.
And if you're not properly trained, chances are you're not going to capitalize on using even quality supplies. Two things I want to say. One, because you had mentioned about the hospitals, how they weren't letting people in if you weren't vaccinated. Uh, my stepfather was hospitalized. He had a severe condition with diabetes, limb amputation, all that kind of stuff. And he got to a very bad point. And he was on the verge of passing. And by the time I found that out and wanted to go visit him, they said that before I could go and visit anybody, I had to go get a COVID test. And I had to go to a facility, get a COVID test, take 24 to 48 hours, then go. Long story short, I missed the opportunity to say farewell to my stepfather of over 37 years, who passed when I wasn't able to visit him because I didn't get to take a test in time. And I couldn't just go and visit him. So just another ridiculous thing to kind of throw into it. Something else I want to say about another reason why I've been in situations where I feel like getting the medical training is really severe. Back in 2003 in New York City, we had a major blackout. Power outage that was supposed to only last 2 days, 3 days. It ended up lasting 7 to 8 days. 7 to 8 days in the biggest city in the country. With all the overcrowded, overpopulation,
I
if
don't
you
know if
kid,
this is going to pick it up or not.
it's a little fuzzy.
Hold on. Go ahead. Keep going. I'm going to try and.
Maybe back away a little bit of focus. It's our birthday
Refuge
month.
Medical. Refuge Medical. Damn, I wish it would show up, but Refuge Medical anyway.
Hopefully
All kinds of stuff.
by the time we get to do a segment on it, we could get to a point where we can like throw pop-ups on the screen and let everybody see what we're talking about.
I really got to get the hang of this tech stuff, dude. I'm telling you, the rumble part is pissing me off because I would really love to go more in depth, and there's only so much you can say on YouTube, and with this being like a new thing, they'll easily shut it down before anything can even get started. So I really got to work on it. I don't have the time to sit and mess with it, but I'm gonna learn it.
Yeah, slow and steady, and making those strides. But to just finish off where I was going, when this blackout happened, and I was living in Brooklyn at the time, I was about 22 years old, 23 years old. Uh, by the third day of power, and I'm talking total blackout. So after 6 p.m. in the summertime, the sun goes down. It is pitch black. You could not see 2 feet in front of your face. I was walking my girlfriend home at the time, and I'm walking up my block and literally couldn't hear or see anything. I'm literally with a flashlight aiming it down at the ground, walking with my feet. And before I knew it, to the left peripheral vision, there was somebody on a porch, and I saw just the tip of a cigarette light. I had no clue who they were there. By that third day, the amount of chaos that I heard and saw what was going on in the streets was only you with your car lights on, assuming you had gas in your car. The amount of gunfire I heard, to the point where there was two detectives that I saw that when an unmarked vehicle, one of them was coming out of a house, which I later found out his mother lived in the house. So two detectives were outside a house. One was coming out. He was armed. He had his vest. He was on duty in his gear. And I saw him coming out of the house. He was checking on his mother, and you could hear a barrage of gunshots go off less than a block away. Him and I made eye contact, because it obviously was something you couldn't ignore. All he did was get in his car and drive away. No sirens. He didn't go to look to investigate. He wasn't responding to any call. And I say this just to emphasize the reality that I saw at that time. Like, if I get shot right now, or I get mugged or jumped, no ambulance is coming for me. The police aren't coming to help me. And if I'm not able to defend myself or treat my medical wounds, assuming they're not too severe, I could stop the bleeding and have a tourniquet. These are very real things that it really doesn't take much for you to find yourself in that kind of situation. And it wasn't like there was some type of national emergency. This was a local New York City, not state, New York City blackout. It got to the point where on day 7, we were like, all right, we're going to go rent a hotel in New Jersey, because we had no air condition. We were bumming off generators of our neighbors splitting power. People were climbing in people's yards trying to steal generators. And it was a free for all where I would be driving down the street with my headlights on, and literally every other block, there'd be gunshots going off.
Yeah.
So it's just to show you that if I had to get to a hospital, all it takes is that. And I've been through multiple situations like that where I am at the point where that is a priority, where a lot of people I talk to would be like, oh yeah, that'll be cool, but I got to go on vacation with my wife to the Bahamas and spend the money on that. And it's like, where your values align, and what do you value more? And I guess a lot of people aren't exposed to coming face to face with those type of situations, to see the police running away from danger because they have no backup coming.
Yeah.
And if they get hurt, there's no ambulance coming for them in a
No.
relatively simple situation of a power outage, a local power outage that covered all 5 boroughs. But
Let me touch that point real quick. We really should button it up. I know you're probably not feeling good, COVIDs and all. Listen. Oh, look, you started coughing, right? Yeah.
I figure I got to dramatize. I got to dramatize it for you.
Yeah. Okay, look, as far as power, let me tell you something. I'm an electrician. I'm in the union, and I'm working for a power company right now out of Ohio. I've done this in the past many years. That's just one other good point. These are things I guess I could really go on for about an hour about this, but I'm going to shorten it up. You are not entitled to power. That is a service that is supplied to you monthly, given that you pay the bill. They are not required to make sure you have power to an extent. On a regular day, they're going to do their best. Have a backup plan, okay? Generator, solar, something. It doesn't even have to be something that powers the whole house, because that's a little inconceivable and costs a lot of money. But something, a small generator that you can power a circuit with, a solar that has a decent sized battery, communications, charge things, some lights, right? Things like that.
Refrigerator, something.
Because refrigerators can get tricky because of the motor. But if you get a big enough size generator, you can make that happen along with some other things. Sometimes it's just as simple as like, maybe your generator's big enough, because they're costly, dude. But maybe your generator's big enough to power, say, let's keep the food cold Okay, the food's cold, but the generator doesn't power enough to do that and this. Well, then you kind of cycle back and forth. And there's a very easy way to backfeed your house if you do it right. Most places don't like when you do that. If you leave the main on and you backfeed the house, it actually go out, to the grid, and that's not going to help you. It's probably going to trip everything. So if you know what you're doing, there is a way, but have a backup plan. I can't tell you how many times I've said this. Say it one more time. It's probably the first time I've said it on here. Have a backup plan for power. It might be one of the most important things in the first 72 hours to a week that you can do. Have enough fuel. I'm just telling you that you have no idea how reliant the entire country is on a power grid that's over 150 years old in most places. So it's extremely fragile, it's extremely weak. And if it goes down large scale, let me point something out. If, let's just say, a large portion of the grid goes out, there's no turning it right back on. I hope everyone understands that. That's not what happens. It's not capable of happening. They have to have a charge there. That's why you'll see substations, they'll have generators like big diesel generators. There's no off and on, right? There's going to be a tremendous draw to it. You can't just turn it back on. They actually have to have power in order to turn the power back on. So it's not, most people just think, oh, we'll fix it and then they'll get it back on. If a substation goes down, there has been people targeting substations, by the way, just putting that out there, that like people are targeting substations. If a car hits a telephone pole during COVID, there was a massive shortage on transformers because they were coming from overseas. We don't make anything here anymore, right? So when a car hits a telephone pole and the transformer goes down, they got to pull one from the yard. That happens frequently, So like, if they don't have enough of a backup, especially during COVID, then yes, the system needs prime. So if they don't have enough of them, they're not going to go to especially rural places or even certain places. There's priority, right? The point being is that it's not what most people think that it is. And you need to think about having a backup plan, how to use it, and how long you intend to use it for. I have a generator and I have some solar. Solar's great on an individual level. It will never work mass scale. All these big fields, it's a scam. They
The
don't have
windmill, all the windmill farms
the
and all that
windmills.
stuff.
Look, when they talk about eco-friendly, all the quote unquote carbon and energy that goes into building them never gets offset. Their lifespan for those windmills are over without ever offsetting what it costs to make them. Not to mention they're made out of nickel, and so like they're not remanned. They bury those. When those go down, they bury them. They don't. They go. I'm telling you, you can see the videos. There's fields where they lay them down, they take them apart, and then they bulldoze dirt over them. All the oil and gas that goes in to lubricate the machine, all the concrete, that tons and tons, hundreds of tons of concrete it takes that they pour, it's a scam. And when it comes to solar, that you'll never be able to do it large scale because they don't have the batteries to do it. Right now, even if they hooked up the solar, the draw that would be needed would last for 4 minutes. You'd get 4 minutes. That's it. That's all that it's capable of producing to power everything. No matter how much they put out there as far as solar, it would only work well during the day. But on an individual scale, you can do it well to an extent. The more money you have to put into it, the more robust the system can be. But start small. Like, just start small. I built it on my building on my property, right? You can start small. You want to just power the lights? That's not that costly, right? You want to power the lights, add a bigger inverter, add a couple more batteries, add a couple more panels as you get some more resources, money to do it. You can expand on that. I usually say start with a big inverter, and then the inverter can handle when you get more batteries and you can get more panels. So, I mean, but you can start small. But the point being of all of that, because that's a topic I can go on and on about. There's all kinds of data points. People think that that's the next greatest thing. It will never work. They never will have the batteries to power a city, a town, anything like that. It just won't work. They don't have the capability to store it at night. Plain and simple. And as far as it being green, it's not green at all. At all. That's a giant scam. Again, the politicians, it's a giant fucking scam. But do have a backup plan. Have a backup plan for power, because if it goes down, depending on the situation, you never know when it's going to come back on. And end of rant for that. Or learn to live without electricity is a great way to do it too. We can do that. But as far as communications, it's good to have at least some capability. The way that we live right now, it's a good thing to have.
Listen, I went, and again, I know we're coming to a close, but I went camping a few years ago where all my friend had was a little butane powered heater because it was during deer season. He was a bow hunter. I went out with him. We had two tents, and pretty much we cooked all our food with open flame. And at a fire pit. We pretty much living off the grid for the 2 days, and being accustomed to just flipping a switch, having power, having a blender to make your food, having a gas powered stove. It's definitely wise to at least be minimally proficient and knowing how to get by with basic things. It's something as simple as camping and being able to cook your food if you have to hunt, how to clean it, skin it, prepare it, or if you're able to use food in your refrigerator but you have no flame, now you have to create a flame. You have to cook on certain cookware over the open flame and make things. And it was a refresher, is what I'm getting at. It was refreshing to see,
Yeah.
like, okay, this is how it's done in a situation where you don't have full access to our basic utilities. We're all very spoiled to have at this time in society.
And
So
just to add another aspect to that, when the power goes out, water also goes out. They need power for the pumps, given that enough time goes by. Generally, there's backup generators that will keep the plant going to an extent. But the point being is that flies, fingers, and feces get people sick. Okay. So, like, beyond everything else, beyond the medical, beyond the food, beyond the electricity, when stuff goes down for an extended amount of time, you need to be able to keep stuff clean. The only reason this is another bunch of bullshit with the vaccinations and stuff, but they said like polio went away because of vaccines, and all the other crap that they said went away because of vaccines. You know what happened right at the exact same time that those things started to go away? All those diseases, plumbing.
cleaner sanitation.
Plumbing
That's why
happened.
in New York City, the Department of Sanitation logo has the medical logo on it, because prior to that century and that point of time they were living in, it was very unsanitized conditions. People weren't cleaning their hands. You could die over basic medical treatment from somebody stitching up a cut whose hands were filthy. It was a
Yeah,
very unsanitary time, and that was causing a huge amount of that. Yeah.
that's what was the main driver of most diseases, was the fact that people weren't clean enough, right? So the way that even people used to shit was like insane, like the way that you gotta see that, like that's crazy. There was at one point in Europe, everybody would use a rope. You get what I'm at? You get what I'm saying? A rope right up their crack, and they didn't clean it.
Ugh.
So, like, yeah, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah,
So
yeah.
the point being is that sanitary is also one of the most key things when it gets past a few days. Again, like I could go on and on about this stuff because it gets nuanced, but clean water. There's some weird rule that like really doesn't apply, but like there's people that are in a prepper space that say you need a gallon a day to survive. That's not enough. A gallon a day, if you're like trying to just drink, might be enough
For one person.
for one person. Yeah.
Yeah.
No, it would never be enough to clean, to like wash, to like even the drink. If it's hot, you think you're gonna burn through a gallon. You know what I mean? It's just gonna happen. So I mean, I don't know. There's a lot of misnomers and stuff too, but Yeah, sanitation is also very, very key. Anything longer than a few days, sanitation better be on in your mindset. Um,
Yeah.
let's do this. 125 right now. We've been going. Um, hopefully next Wednesday I can get some stuff figured out. Can't tell you how angry I am that this Rumble thing keeps, because I can go. You mentioned that insignia on their arm, right?
Yeah.
You have any idea what that means?
What you're talking about? Which insignia?
This the medical insignia.
The medical insignia in terms of
The
the
snakes.
actual. Yeah, I mean, I don't know the direct science of where it came
So
from, but I
this
know it represents the medical.
it's not science. It's I see, this is stuff for the schizo portion that I don't want to get into because it's already late. And this would be great to like jump into the Rumble, just because you never know what you trigger in an algorithm when you start talking about certain things. There's there's all kinds of stuff that we see every day symbolically that we don't know anything about. Uh, that symbol with the snakes, Formica, uh, the people will be deceived by Formica, is written in the Bible. Uh, so there's a lot more to things that most people don't actually know. I'll just leave it at that for now. That will actually be a good cliffhanger for like if we want to touch on it next time.
Definitely a
There's a
route
lot.
to explore.
Hey, go look around your city and see things. You look at some signs, look at some old stuff, look at things that are on the buildings, even street signs, and like um, city signs. There's symbols on them, right? There's on a lot of them. There's symbols. There's usually like stars. There's usually like eagles, birds, and what do they mean? What do they mean? No one really asked that question. Why is that there? Why is there a staff with two snakes wrapped around it as a medical sign? What does that mean? What does pharmaceuticals root word pharmica? Where does that come from? So there's a ton of that I can actually crash into, but we're gonna call it for tonight. Um, we'll get there. We'll get there. This
Yeah,
is the
we will.
normie stuff. I told you you're a normie. You
Yeah,
don't you don't know.
I'm on the cuspis though. I'm not a
Yeah,
full normie.
you'll get there. You'll get there. If we keep doing enough of these shows, you'll get there. You'll be like, oh God, it's everywhere. All right, everybody, thanks for watching. Leave a comment if there's anything you agree or disagree with. I'll be interested to see how many people disagree or agree, because it's a very good tell of who's paying attention. You guys have a good night. Also, one more thing. I'm trying like hell to come up with a name for this. Right now, it's the Ish Show. Not sure if that one's going to stick, but give me some suggestions. All right, you guys have a good night.